WCB Podcast, your source for all things Chicago Blackhawks and everything hockey. With your host, let's do it, Jerem, Tanner, and Noli.
All right, welcome to another edition of the WCB Podcast, part of the Hockey Podcast Network, presented by DraftKings. It's Tanner, it's Jerem. I did that reverse. I don't know why, but what is up, bud?
Hey, countdown again. 1 week, baby.
One
Let's
week.
Go.
Well, as you're listening to this, 6 days until the Blackhawks are we doing the McDavid stuff yet? Is it the Chicago Bedards, or are we still doing Chicago Blackhawks?
Dude, it's the Chicago Corey Perry's. What the fuck are you talking about? He just scored in the preseason game, so let's go.
Yeah, so awesome episode, as you probably tell by our promotion and the title of this episode. We have Daniel Carcillo, the Car Bomb, on the program, talking about his career, post-career, all the amazing stuff that he's doing. It's a lot of information, but it's a lot of great and information, especially for those of you who don't know, he is working with magic mushrooms, microdosing mushrooms, to help treat like CTE and depression and all the kind of stuff that he picked up after a long career in the NHL. And he knows his shit, man. Holy crap. Like,
yeah. If you haven't really followed along with anything that Carcillo did since he left the league, and there was a little bit of drama between like what was going on in the league with concussions, and he was very outspoken about it. Just don't take any kind of I don't know what, like, bias into the interview, because he's in a completely amazing place, and it was just such an awesome talk to have.
And let's just put it this way too, he even brought that up in the interview, that he's like, if you look back at my Instagram and social media from like 5 years ago, he's like, I was a little centric out there and all that kind of stuff, and if you followed him, you'll notice a complete difference. And it's amazing the work that he's doing and giving you options to get this done, or to get stuff done that you don't have to go the traditional route. Not getting preachy here or anything like that, but it's like there is other options out there besides,
right. And
he's
helping tons of people, like former players, veterans. It was just a great talk all in all, and I really hope everybody really enjoys it.
Yeah.
But before that,
we're going to do a little housekeeping here. A little Hawks talk. Just because I don't know if we're going to record an episode next week before the season starts. We're still trying to figure this out, because finally announcing this for the the season opener, we will be doing a watch along on our YouTube channel. It's going to be me. It's going to be Tanner.
Yes.
I'm going to talk to maybe
my son might just be in the background.
Oakley might be making an appearance.
Hey.
Maybe we can convince Noli to put the books down, the nerd, and come in and watch the Blackhawks hockey with us. Maybe we can get Potes. Maybe Potes will come out and do a little play-by-play action. Mr. I want to be Pat
Chris
Foley.
Foster's.
The only good thing is it's an ESPN broadcast, so Chris Foster's won't be on it.
Oh, true. But it will be an ESPN broadcast.
That's true. But luckily for us, we legally can't show the game. We can't have audio. So we'll be able to watch it, but we won't have to hear it. So
I'll have headphones on.
You can have your headphones. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But so real quick, going into it, we are 6 days out from opening night. The roster is starting to come together. I have to do this
it's looking pretty set. There's a few injuries to take care of. I mean, I don't know if Kershev is out for a while, but wasn't skating since after the first preseason game. He's not in tonight, so it would be like a Tuesday. But I'm assuming that he will be on that opening night roster, because I haven't seen anything about him missing it.
I haven't seen anything about him actually being injured. So when you said that today, I was a little
There was like a Richardson update about Savoy, where after I'm pretty sure he's got a fucked up broken femur after
yeah,
going into the
they
boards
said it
against
today.
Minnesota.
Yeah, he broken leg. He had surgery on it Sunday in Minnesota.
They had asked about Kurashev in the same discussion, and he was like, "Oh, he's just got like a little wrist thing. He's just resting." So
probably at this point.
Yeah, there's no reason to like have him play like these next few or the few preseason games up until now, which I don't think he's playing tonight. They have like Entwistle and Kachuk, which I haven't watched the game at all, so I don't know who's playing on what line. But Kurashev with Reichel is pretty good. I mean, Connor Bedard just looks fucking unbelievable,
dude. It's so funny. I know people are just joking around. They're like, "Oh, he can't even score on James Reimer and all that kind of stuff." It's like, good. I hope he doesn't score in the preseason. Save it for fucking 6 goals against Pittsburgh.
And the thing is, like, he's been nothing but getting more pissed off.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, yeah, go ahead, keep pissing him off, and then when the season starts, he's gonna put in 10. Like, oh my god, he had 2 assists in the first game, and he was upset with his performance, and he looked amazing. And it's just like, oh, okay.
I kind of wrote about that in my Hockey Buzz article after that first Hawks preseason game, and it was like, is he gonna burn himself out putting too much pressure on him? Like, if he gets upset with himself for having 2 primary assists and a 2-1 win, and it's not good enough, what's he gonna be like when this team like legitimately loses when the games actually matter?
Oh, I don't know. We'll see. He might get frustrated, but
I think this is the latest update. I think training camp rosters at 34 players, which is 23 forwards, 8 defensemen, 3 goaltenders. Some notable names that got sent down over the past couple days is Drew Comesso, Philip Ruse, Marcel, Ethan Del Mastro, Nolan Allen all went down to Rockford. Gavin Hayes, Paul Lewinsky, and who else was it? There's a couple other people that got released to their
Louis Crevier, Ryder Rolston, Gust, Hardman, Cini.
All those three got sent down to Rockford. So it's names that we are all expecting that aren't going to be on there. I think Nolan Allen did a good job in his action up there to kind of be the first man up when it comes time to.
Well, I think he's going to get top 2 minutes in the AHL, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think he's going to be first man up when ultimately a defenseman goes down or somebody's not performing. I'm still very intrigued. I think it's leaning towards that Korchinski is going to be sticking around with the team for a little bit here.
Yeah.
I'm still intrigued on how long of a leash is. He's had a couple moments in the preseason where he's looked good. There's a couple moments where it's like he really needs to work on some, what am I thinking? Not puck control, like puck smarts.
Yeah.
And this not
hockey
trying to force
IQ.
play. Hockey IQ. There we go. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the feet. He knows what to do. He's got confidence. It's just he's in that place of like, is it better to keep him up or just have him be too big of a fish in a small pond? In the
Get the Shane Wright treatment. Let him go down to Rockford.
Yeah, right. That would be nice. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, right now it's pretty much steady as she goes. I don't think there's really any surprise players making this team opening night. I don't know. I'm still to the point, like, I don't hate this team. I have to emphasize, I don't expect us to win and compete, but I think this is going to be an entertaining and fun season to watch, despite probably losing
it'll be a fun one. That's for sure. And like the good thing about this team, and the same as like last year, is like there's going to be opportunities for young guys. And so like it'll be cool to see like who seizes those opportunities. I think last year we saw it with like Cole Gutman. Like once he got the call up until he got hurt, he was looking great. And so like getting more opportunities like that for other guys I think it's always really exciting.
Definitely. Do you have anything else you want to?
Zegras got signed for less than I thought he was going to sign, but that's about it.
Zegras got signed. Vasilevsky's out.
Oh, yeah. Vasilevsky's out. So Tampa's no longer going to be good.
Mrazek, just for a warm body.
No. No,
I'm trying to think how can we swindle Tampa again?
Yeah, I mean we could send him Soderblom.
Everybody's hating on Soderblom lately.
I don't know. He'll be okay. I just don't think he's gonna have a good season.
I don't think any goalie's gonna have a good season.
Bring back Stalock. He knows how to handle this team.
So, but all right, yeah. So we are gonna wrap it up here. We'll send it over to the Carcillo interview. We will make sure to update everybody on what the schedule's looking like next week for the show. If we're gonna try to do something, if not, make sure to follow all social medias at WCB Podcast. Listen to the podcast on your favorite podcast feed and watch it on YouTube. Yeah, what do you want to call it? I gotta ask.
Just the Daniel Carcillo, right? Like
the Carcillo.
There's no real. Yeah, I was gonna say, there's no like magic mushroom Daniel Carcillo like pun I can make, so it's just like all right.
All right, so this is the Carcillo. Yeah, we will really hope you guys enjoy this. Let us know what you guys think of the interview.
What am I? Carcillo Cybomb.
Carcillo side bomb?
No, like psilocybin and Carcillo and car bomb. Carcillo Cybomb, bro. Carcillo Cybin. It's the Carcillo Cybin episode.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's right off the top. Just call it the Daniel Carcillo interview because it's hilarious.
All right. Well, we'll see you on the next one, guys. All right, so today we are joined by a very special guest. He is a two-time Stanley Cup champion, played in 429 games over 9 seasons with the Coyotes, the Flyers, the Hawks, the Kings, and the Rangers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the program the car bomb himself, Daniel Carcillo. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, let's kick it off just like at the very beginning, right? Just with hockey. Like what got you started? What got you into the game?
Oh, so I grew up in Canada. So as soon as you're pretty much born with skates, and I grew up in a small town called King City, Ontario, and really everything revolved around the rink. It was only a town of then it was like 7,000 people. So if you weren't playing hockey, you weren't in the it was hard to make friends in school, and I was just really attracted to the game. I've always been really attracted to things that have different rules. And that was just a different rule set where, if a kid was touching the puck, you were able to, test his will or test how far he would go by, leaning on him and trying to break him down, score goals. It was cool to, be a part of a team, work towards a goal every single tournament, every single game, every single season. So I was just attracted to those aspects. I was super competitive as a kid, and yeah, it was a really great anger management tool.
Nice. Growing up in Canada, like every kid's dream is to be playing NHL, professional hockey, and all that. Was there like a specific moment like throughout your youth career, or like where there was a moment where you're like, oh man, this is legitimately an option for me?
Yeah, I didn't take it too seriously. Anything that my parents put me in, and I grew up with 2 brothers, and they were hardworking, blue collar Italian people. We had to do 100%, or else, they would take us out. So we took that mentality towards like school, towards hockey, and I figured I had a shot at it when I was about 13, turning 14. I always played AA, so I never played in the best league. AAA league in Canada, and had this opportunity to go for a tryout against 14 other kids for one spot on a AAA team midway through the season. So it was a unique opportunity, and obviously made the team. And then I was playing on a team with like Anthony Stewart and Brent Burns and Sean Samuel, Luciano Aquino, just a bunch of guys that ended up turning pro. And I got drafted, in the 6th round to the OHL, pretty obscure. I was getting scouted by, universities, Cornell, RPI, Bowling Green. And I figured then that, I had a chance. There's not many opportunities to kind of get out of your hometown when it's that small. So really figured I had a pretty good shot at it, and just, applied myself pretty heavily into, just watching everything I ate, and every single practice, every single minute, I was severely focused on just getting better. And if you do that at that age, it's amazing the leaps and bounds that you could make. Because at 15, I wasn't the best out there by any means. But by the time I was 18, I was ready to get drafted in the NHL, 73rd overall, and I was ready to turn pro right out of high school.
I mean, that was a stacked draft too that you were selected in. Would
Yeah,
you say that your style of play was kind of the same when you were a kid, or were you more finesse and then grew into kind of a grittier player?
I always liked hitting, and I always played the game just really, really hard. So I don't think that ever changed. And I think when I was in the OHL, I remember thinking, like, I'm 165 pounds right now, soaking wet. I play the game hard. I know I'm going to have to fight when I go to the next level. Luckily, on all the teams in the OHL, there were tons of guys that would just step up and fight for me, because I was a 30-goal scorer every year. So I put on some weight that summer, and about 20 pounds. And when I got into the AHL, just started crushing guys with hits, etc. And then, I'm just a very honorable person. If you want to fight, the way the game was and kind of still is, you see it in today's game, that guys are going to stand up for their teammates once they get, whether, even if it's a clean hit, they're going to want to, you're going to have to answer the bell. So I knocked out Kevin Cawley, who was like a pretty tough dude. And you got to remember, like, when you're going to these training camps, when you're drafted, you're going to training camps for 3 years. So like, everybody in the organization knows you, and they knew me as like a skill guy. Yes, I played the game hard. I was sometimes dirty, but for the most part, I didn't fight. And so when that happened, I was kind of like pinholed. Everybody then wanted a piece of me, because that guy was like a pretty tough, middle to light heavyweight. So just kind of, it's just kind of happened. And then you're always on your toes. And like I said, I just played the game extremely hard. And if guys wanted to fight, I was early part of my career, I really enjoyed beating people up. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can tell by looking at the stats that you have in that first year of the AHL with over 300 PIMs. Like, well, how many fights was that? Like,
I don't even know in the AHL. I don't know, but at that time, you were able to add fighting to your resume. So I could skate, I can hit, I can shoot. I was a great passer. I was a very hard worker. And then if you add that component to your game, that the unpredictability, and then if you fucked around with either me or anybody else, like, we were going to answer the bell. And back then, this is 2000. I was drafted in 2003. This is 2006, 2005. That was still the era where, like, Dennis Bonvie and, McGrattan and these guys we would start the game with like 3 fights before, and there'd be 5 seconds off the clock, So I never really understood that aspect of the game. I always wanted to make people had to, either they had to get a big hit and I was going to come after them, or I was going to get a big hit. You almost had to earn a fight from me. And, but if you did, yeah, it was, we went pretty hard at each other back then, for sure.
Definitely. Being like that grit player too. What I loved about you, like watching you, is when you were on every other team, I couldn't stand you. Like, you were the player that I hated to see on the other side of the ice. But the second you came into Chicago, you're like one of my favorite players out there. I loved bringing that grit to the team, and it's just something the Chicago teams really never had. Is that something that you really like adds extra pride to your sleeve, like that knowing like people will hate you, but then the second like you're fighting for them, they're like, all right, this is our guy, this is who we're backing, and all that kind of, you love to hate kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, guys like myself, not that I was as good or skilled, but like, Marchand and just guys that played the game hard, that, would sometimes would answer the bell. And I mean, if I wasn't, if I didn't go into Boston and people weren't throwing shit at me when I went through the tunnel, and if I didn't open up my Twitter and have 200 hate messages, I didn't think I did a good job. I wasn't, it's
Yeah.
not like I got on the score sheet, because guys get on the score sheet in different ways. And the way that I got on the score sheet or got noticed every single night, the foundation of my game was to always get hits, to try to wear the team down, and to get them thinking about me rather than thinking about Patrick Kane, Taves, Hosa, Sharp, Seabrook, Keith. And then also if somebody was looking to start something or take liberties on any of these guys, they knew who was coming over the boards next. And sometimes I would fight, but sometimes I would just cross check you in the face, and so early on in my career, I didn't have a very good grasp on who I was as a person. I was living very hard on and off the ice, and sometimes I wouldn't know what I was going to do. So, and people saw that, and I think that is an element that teams liked and teams wanted. And you come across guys that fight, but you don't come across too many guys that like to fucking fight, that don't mind sticking their face out there and don't mind taking a punch to give a punch. And that's what I always tried to embody.
You're kind of like the dying breed of that, because I mean, I feel like after you, like, your guys from like your draft class, all that, start leaving the league, like, you don't see that as much. Like, you see guys fighting because they have to, because you got to stick up for the teammate, but it's like you don't see anybody that their job is to go out there and fight. And I think I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing in the league right now.
It's
Good.
I got in, so I started watching games here with a vet, with Matthew Wiz Buckley, and he invited me to some of his games, and I had a weird relationship with the game when I first left, and with the concussions, and I was angry, I was frustrated, I was definitely very sad that a lot of my friends had passed away, and that guys are getting neurodegenerative disease. So I had to kind of step away for a bit. But when I went to my first game with my son, I was like, oh boy, like, this is why people loved what I did, and I love watching the intensity of what these guys do. And so I've course corrected a lot of the things that I felt and saw and how I acted, because if people grow, and people go through a lot of changes and different types of realizations. And what I realized while I was watching these games was, number one, like, this is like MMA on skates, and there's no out of bounds, and guys are going so hard, and it's such a cool sport to watch. Doesn't translate over into TV too very well, but when you're at a game, you are fully in it. And I didn't have that type of perspective until I got on the other side of the ropes. And I can see why, people stand up and yell for fights, and for honor and for sticking up for one of your teammates. And it just makes a lot of sense, and so when I saw that, I was like, geez, you know, right now in my head, there's enough information out there, whether the league wants to admit it or not. When these guys sign on the dotted line, like, you're going to take damage and you're going to have to get repaired when you leave the league, right? When early on, when I was playing, and prior to 2013, when the NFL concussion lawsuits came out, these leagues were hiding this information from us, right? This protocol wasn't as advanced. And so you saw a period of time there where a lot of guys passed away, accidental overdoses, suicides, and a lot of them had this CTE, this neurodegenerative disease that's very much like ALS and Parkinson's, where you just completely lose yourself and the people around you, and it's scary. And so if that's the case today, I feel okay and morally okay going to a game. And I feel like I've done something in the way of like waking these guys up to be like, hey man, this is dangerous. This is what you can do for your brain right now. It's not necessarily tied to the league, but I don't think it has to be. And so hopefully guys, I know that, like, and I help a lot of like former dudes like me that were my age. We start hitting at 4 years old, man. Now they're hitting at 13, right? So it's like things have gotten better, and so I acknowledge that and respect that, and now I just try to help in different ways rather than highlight the negative. I just create positive things, because sickness will unfortunately always be there.
I think part of the thing that helps with it too is like a little bit of the mentality of some of the players that are coming into the game at like the age of 18 now is a little bit different than like back in the early 2000s. Like I feel with I don't know, it seems that they have more like a better picture of like what they want to do and what they want to achieve, rather than just be like, I'm gonna go make the show and like have a great fucking time.
Yeah, dude. So when I was at 4 years old, okay, the first thing that our coach taught us was where to slash people. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, and the way that the game got taught then is completely different than it is now. Do I agree with it? Not 100%, because at the end of the day, you have to beat a team in a 7-game series to win.
Yep.
Right? So the way that it was taught to us is the way that you play the game is you from the very beginning, from the opening draw, you take your heel and you drive it into the top of their foot, and you let them know that it's going to be a battle, right? And so you take their will to just go after that puck, you take it away. And then as soon as you see the first sign of hesitation from one of their players, the whole bench sees it, the team sees it, and then you go even harder. That's the way that we learned, right? It wasn't, and then the thinking is when they hesitate and they don't want to touch the puck, then the offense comes and then you're in their zone and you have puck possession, etc. And now it's quite simply, and then you play 6 months and you play a different sport 6 months. There was no 12 months of the year. Now it's 12 months of the year. It's a big business, and it's all skill. And dude, I was on the ice with some of these kids like 2 weeks ago before they went to like college and stuff. I was fucking blown away, man. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are it's just different, a different type of skill. It's really amazing to watch, to be quite honest. Losing the elements of the nastiness and stuff, it's there. It's still kind of there in the playoffs. Not to the extreme that it needs to be, but I think it's good. I think it's a good product that they're putting out. I think guys are like Zegras and these kids are starting to be themselves. They're getting different sponsorships. They're growing the game. There's it's all positive.
Yeah, like having those types of players actually be able to show like their actual personality, when in the past it's always been like, get pucks in deep. Like that's just everybody's natural answer to everything. And
well, and then it's strange. It's a strange thing because when you're a player, the coaches were so stringent and so hard on you that like any type of stray outside of the line, like you weren't going to get another chance. You just weren't, and you might even sit out the next game because of it. And now I feel like, coaches are able to, like any business or any team, it's about connecting with the person or the players or the group of individuals that you're going to try to accomplish this goal, which is the first goal is always to make the playoffs. And then the second goal is always to win the cup. And I just feel like people are just a little bit more conscious of the way that they communicate. And that's changed. It's definitely gotten softer in some respects, but in other respects, it's still the same. Like the responsibility and the onus is always on the player. It's not on the coach. It's always on the player, and you have to be prepared to do your job. And if your job is to be a skill guy and score goals, well, you better do it. If your job is to check and take the will away, and then you better do it. And if your job is to be a goalie, just be weird and stop the fucking puck,
Yeah, I used to be a goalie, so I just
there you go.
Yeah,
I knew it. I actually started as goalie too, man. I'm a big weirdo.
I like to say like I wasn't like the weirdest of the weird, so that's all that I really cared about.
Every goalie says that, by the way.
I know. But I really believe it in my heart.
Yeah, no, I can tell. Yeah, you weren't for sure. Yeah, I started out as goalie, and then when I started coming out of the crease and stuff, the coaches are like to try to hit guys. Yeah, maybe try forward. Yeah,
yeah, I
dump it in.
did that a little bit too. It was just throwing some fists around in the crease, and they're just like, what the fuck is wrong with him? And I'm just like, hey, nobody steps in this crease, baby. That's what I'm telling you. I don't need my defense to step up for me.
There you go.
I just want to go back a little bit and talking into about like your playing career and just what was it like that first moment you stepped on the NHL ice? Just what was that feeling for you?
It was, I mean, it was pretty cool. It was the culmination of just a lot of hard work. It wasn't necessarily a dream, like I mentioned, for me at 3, but it was just something that I felt like I could accomplish, and I accomplished it in a very short period of time. It felt like, when I made that commitment at 14 or 15, within 4 years I was there. And then all of a sudden within 12, your career's done. And it really does go by really fast, and there were a ton of guys that are like, make sure you enjoy it, because I'm on my last, and a lot of people say that now about my kids and stuff. And thank God I've had that experience with the sport, because now I believe it, and I try to cherish every moment. And the first time I stepped on the ice was in Arizona in Scottsdale, and Wayne Gretzky was my coach, and Ulf Samuelsson, Grant Fuhr. It was like a really cool group of dudes to be around. Jeremy Roenick was there. Shane Doan was my captain. Derek Morris was amazing. And it was,
look at this roster right now. Holy crap.
Yeah, it was, I mean, a lot of guys were on their last legs, right? It was kind of like a place to go to retire. And I ended up there, I asked for a trade from Pittsburgh because I just knew I was ready and I didn't want to wait any longer. And there's kind of a pecking order.
Mm-hmm.
When you get drafted, if the guy ahead of you, even if you're playing better and he was there for 2 years, they kind of give him the shot first. And I just remember going out, man, high stepping, no bucket, white skates with black laces, graphs. And I remember my trainer like refused to buy them for me. And so I had to actually go to the ice den and pick up, these black laces. And I played, I think it was 14 games. It was right at the trade deadline. And fought a bunch of times, scored a bunch of times, racked up some points, and that really, set up the next year, my first full year, which I think I led the league in penalty minutes. Some great things happened, some bad things happened too. I blew my knee out, my PCL in a fight, but it was. One thing that I don't think people realize and not enough guys talk about is how hard it is to do what we did on a consistent basis. I would challenge anybody to just do that for a month. I would challenge anybody to do our workouts that we had to do in the summer for a week. It's a different type of mindset that can commit to how hard and how much suffering and pain you have to go through for hopefully a little bit of joy, a little bit of the whole concept of like not counting score and there's no loser and winner is fucking unbelievable to me, because that is what this life is about. It's about putting in the work and being able to beat somebody at a sport, and then you feel good about the work. And if you lose, then you have to adjust and look at why you lost, and then hopefully go and work a little harder in practice or in the gym, and then come back and then you win. And so, it was an amazing career, man. I made, played with a lot of great guys. Obviously winning was, twice was pretty special. The guys in Chicago were just all amazing, down to earth guys. Like that group of dudes was something else, man. I'll always cherish that time there for sure.
We're back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw $5 on any of this week's Epic Max and walk away with an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Football's more fun when you're in on the action, so download the app now and sign in with the code THPN. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas City. Licensed partner, Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, Louisiana. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdictions, void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms of responsibility, game resources, bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Yeah, so what you talking about the time in Chicago? Like, just you talk about stepping on the ice for the first time, and you're just like, wow, this happened. So then what was it like when you get handed that Stanley Cup for the first time in 2013? Like, what, like, was you able to even comprehend and enjoy like what was happening in that moment? Or is it something like you kind of realize more down the road, like how amazing that was?
Yeah, I think the second time I won it, I was a little happier, to be honest, because the first time I won it, I was kind of pissed I wasn't in the lineup. I was kind of pissed that, other guys played over me, and I was still very much in my prime, and so I took those lessons from that. And there's things that you do right on the team, like you try to be just a positive influence no matter what you're dealing with. Like, I never really showed it. But it was hard. It was difficult to not play it, only play 4 games. But that being said, to be around the guys, to be around such a strong leadership group, to be around guys that had just so much conviction, didn't fucking matter if we were going to go down 6 goals, we knew we were going to come back, and it was pretty special and cool. For whatever reason, I've always kind of been surrounded by people that could show me the way, or a way of manifesting something, and then just putting in the work and preparing for an opportunity that you don't think is going to come. And then when it does come, fuck, we were ready, all of us. And so, and my role sometimes is to make not sometimes, all the time, is to make the playlist. And so, like, I was always just kind of like the hype guy, and just, getting guys fucking ready to go. And I knew, all the guys' kind of favorite songs. So I'd pick 2-3 songs from each dude, and just little stuff like that, like make it fun, make it special, make it memorable. And, you go on a hype machine now, and I still have that Stanley Cup playlist. And, it's
awesome.
like you're right back in it, you're right back in it. So, yeah, it was pretty cool, man. It was pretty cool. And then just to share the time with all the guys afterwards. And I mean, it's pretty remarkable how, how beat some of these guys are, right? Like, how just like destroyed they are. And so to have the fun and to tour the city and stuff and be a part of that was pretty special.
Yeah. So after that 2015 Cup win, if you want to kind of explain just like what's gone on since then, career wise, and like where you are currently, and just like what's kind of been going on, just unwind all that.
Yeah, I mean, so after 2015, just stopping on my own accord, obviously my friend that year, Steve Monador, passed away, and I saw him get cleared for 4 concussions in 12 weeks, and he had 19, in a league that I thought should have took a little better care of him and us. And so when I saw the same symptoms in myself, I just had my son. I had my 7th concussion in March. That was actually the last game I ever played. But again, I stuck around the team because I knew, like, in 13, I was just going to bring like whatever I could, to make the run fun for the guys. Right. I knew I wasn't going to play. And so then, we won, and that was great. And but then I just became really angry at how sick I was, and then I didn't really want to go around the team. I did the alumni stuff, for a little while, but I was just dealing with so many symptoms. And so it just became pretty overwhelming. And I just had to take a step back and just almost shut myself off from that side of my life. And then I just decided to, try to raise awareness, tell people what was truly going on with me, and then take them on a journey. And I'm still taking them on a journey of just health and wellness. And I knew I would get better. I know you can get better. And it was pretty alarming to me how doom and gloom it was when you talk to these doctors about concussion and dementia and neurodegenerative disease. And I just don't buy into that stuff. I never bought into it. I knew that I was going to get better. For 4 years, it was, trying, pharmaceuticals that doctors would prescribe, going to CT, brain banks, concussions, brain scans, vestibular training, which is your earlobe fluid where you feel you are in space, ocular training, autonomic, heart rate stuff, memory, short-term, long-term, hyperbaric chamber, float tanks, cranial sacral, Mox acupuncture. I mean, you name it, I tried it, right? To decompress this brain and to fix my slurred speech, my light sensitivity, my headaches, my head pressure, my anxiety, my depression, my suicidal ideation. And I got to a point in 2019 where, and then all the while you're reading, right? You're reading these PubMed papers about what happened and possibly how you could fix it. What are the things that could repair the damage that I've obviously sustained since I was 4, and across, the league and across 164 fights. And thank God I came across a study from the Imperial College of London. And thank God I listened to these doctors when I was at these clinics, because the number one thing they were saying was they can identify an area of my brain that's shut down due to trauma. Common misconception is concussions on the whole brain. It's on one of the 6 areas of the brain. And then we're going to wake it up based off of these exercises. So I was like, okay, great. And then I saw this study, and they were saying they're going to connect these hemispheres. And here was this placebo brain. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. And a brain on psilocybin, on magic. It's the active ingredient in magic mushrooms. And here were these lines. The placebo brain looked okay, maybe 20 lines. The psilocybin brain under fMRI had 200. Jeez. You couldn't even see any spaces. And so a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, maybe I could get access to this. So then I started researching. I didn't want to get arrested because I knew it was a Schedule 1. And so I went to a decriminalized city in Denver, Colorado, which was the only one at the time. And then luckily, again, about, putting out different thoughts and manifesting something, a teammate saw how bad I was getting online and stuff. And he's like, come here. I think this could help you. And so I went there, and PhD biochemist, I did a ceremony with him, and then I knew nothing gets fixed in 5 hours. So I made a regimen of, small doses. And then I was researching a lot about CBD. So CBD is a natural neuroprotectant. Obviously it matters if it's minimally processed. So going for isolate isn't the way. You want to try to stick to full spectrum. But the US government owns the patents on CBD, specifically against, and this is where my research brought me, neuronal death as it relates to neurodegenerative diseases like ALS, Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's. So a light bulb went off in my head. Everybody should be on this, because if it helps protect neuronal death, which neurons are always dying as we get older, then it can maybe help safeguard I have CTE. I know I do. I don't have symptoms anymore, and I don't think I'm going to die from it, but I know I have it. I have to have it, right? All the guys who play in the NHL have to have it. All guys who play hockey probably have a little bit of it. It's nothing to be scared about if you're proactive. So, CBD was something that I started to incorporate in my everyday aftercare after I did a big dose, which jolted my nervous system. And within 2 weeks, all of these symptoms started to lessen in intensity or all but fade away. Knew nothing gets fixed in 5 hours, so we made a microdosing regimen with the CBD, and then we used mushrooms like lion's mane and reishi and cordyceps, things you can buy at Whole Foods.
And this is all just ingesting, or
yeah, this is all just taking. So like how people take pharmaceuticals every morning, that the doctor prescribes. This is just taking the
just a
CBD
pill?
in a vegan capsule. I take 3 pills every morning. Yeah, completely natural. And I always take the weekends off, and then I find time every 5th month to take a full month off, because with natural products, kind of like coffee, etc., you build up a tolerance. And then I tested my brain and my blood 6 months later. I didn't need to test it, but I wanted to because it's so heavily stigmatized. And it was completely clear, man. No abnormalities with my brain scans, and my blood work was completely clear. So a light bulb went off, and I was hesitant to talk about it too hard until I got to a year. After I got to a year, I mean, I'm at 5 now, and my wife calls me Benjamin Button. She hates it that I continue to look younger and younger, and these things have amazing neuro anti-inflammatory benefits, and it's not the only thing that I do, though, right? I watch my alcohol intake, I watch my sugar intake, I work out every day, or try to. I try to eat well, and I play sports, and I stay active, and I have a group of men that I hang out with, because men need community after you're done, right? After you're used to being around a team and stuff. And I enjoy my family and my kids, and I'm in their lives, and yeah, I mean, fast forward 5 years, life couldn't be any better, man. Life couldn't be any better. I am by far the highest operating version of myself. Like, no questions about it. If you guys go on my Instagram, you can see former videos. I mean, I look so fucking sick when I was playing.
It's crazy, because so my sister had sent me a video that you had posted where it shows your time. It was like a headshot from in the NHL to where you are now, and I was just it's just a video of the process that you went through, and I was just like, holy shit! I was like, oh my god, he looks great. He looks completely different. And then that's why I had sent it to Jerem here, and I was like, have you seen this? Carcillo looks amazing. It's incredible. This progress that he has is just it's so cool. And so I would just looking into deeper into what you were getting into, and I was just like, this is all very, very interesting, and just sounds amazing.
And it is illegal, but I want to, for listeners out there this could be the first time they're hearing this. There's an FDA approved medicine called ketamine right now that's being used as a dissociative for anxiety, depression, a bunch of off-label PTSD. We own 3 psychiatrist-led clinics that we're administering this, and it does wonders for people. I mean, I'm talking about putting people into remission after 6 sessions over the course of 4 weeks. And these are the most treatment resistant people, meaning they've tried 2 or more drugs that didn't work. Okay. And MDMA for PTSD is about to go for an NDA submission. That means it's a new drug application. It's a 71% success rate with veterans and sexual abuse survivors, meaning you're curing people. This is not a Band-Aid. This is not something that you have to do the rest of your life. And then psilocybin, the active ingredient in magic mushrooms that I took, has been designated FDA breakthrough therapy designation with 2 different companies. So that means that they know that this works. They don't quite know the mechanisms of action, et cetera. Science and doctors have to try to explain everything. But these compounds have been, especially psilocybin specifically, iboga, ibogaine, ayahuasca, they've been used for tens of thousands of years by indigenous tribes. So it's a pretty good safety profile. Not good enough for the Western culture, but if people are wanting to seek this out, how I got to the study was actually because John Hopkins published studies of psilocybin, Matthew Johnson, Roland Griffiths, the amazing work they do there, where it takes away end of life anxiety for cancer patients. So if this is doing that for people that know that they have a terminal diagnosis, imagine what it can do for people that maybe are just on this a little too long,
Yeah.
or maybe they're just sad because, you know, somebody died
Right.
but they went to a doctor, and then the doctor's saying that they have anxiety and then prescribing them, you know, the Zoloft or the Wellbutrin, etc. So what I would encourage people to do is just go research it and see, you know, the studies, and if, I think we all know some people that are suffering, and then what I do with people is just go read it yourself, you know. Don't listen to me. I'm one story, hundreds of others of vets and stuff, but yeah, pretty amazing compounds, and I'm just really happy that they're starting to get into the medical system.
I
Yeah,
think,
I've seen like certain like videos, or not videos, but like random things on like Netflix and things like that that talk about the effects of like magic mushrooms that have on like depression and anxiety. And I've just always been getting more and more interested in that. I feel like it's kind of becoming a little bit more mainstream knowledge for people, when it's still kind of like you said, because they're not able to explain it from the doctor's perspective, like they don't really know how to prescribe that kind of thing.
Well, and this isn't profitable.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
Oh yeah, curing people is not
no,
profitable.
that's not good for business.
Right.
It's not good for business.
The dumbest shit ever.
But
like
you just have to, yeah, you gotta just wake up a little bit, you know, like people, if you're hurting, if you're suffering, if you think that this could be something that you could take advantage of, there's ways to access it legally, you know, right now. There's a difference between a full spectrum mushroom and a synthetic mushroom that's being developed through the FDA, and there's a reason that all of our medicine that we take is synthetic, because it's patentable, number one. And so then these companies can block other companies out for 40 or 60 years so they get more profits. And it's replicatable, meaning, you know, I founded a company and I took it through the FDA, and we did a pre-IND meeting, investigational new drug application with my regiment that got me better. And so I learned the inside and out of how our drugs get made, and they have to be made within a 0.01% variance, the batch. So it has to be synthetic. Can't be cannabis because there's too much variance. It can't be natural mushrooms. There's too much variance. That's why we have drugs. And then that's why we have nutraceuticals, right? Which are like almost like the legal or illegal ways of, you know, and there's just certain things you can say and you can't say. You can't make claims, right?
Right.
The only way you can make a claim is if you gather together 300 million and develop a synthetic medicine. It's pretty wild. But yeah, I think people are coming around, man. People are starting to read. People are starting to take ownership of their own lives, which is really positive. You know, really positive.
I know for me, so I have Crohn's disease. I suffer from really bad depression, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. And I have finally got to a point where I had a doctor willing to have the conversation with me with medical marijuana and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Because going into looking at the pharmaceutical stuff, and it's just, when you actually take a look at it, everybody just, oh, the doctor gave it to me, let's just take it. It's like when you actually look into it and like what you're putting into your body. There was at one point I was putting radiation in my body for one of my medication, and I had no idea about that. But since using medical marijuana, I've never felt better. Like I've moved on to, like, you know, absolute best version of myself. My depression is gone. My anxiety is very good. With magic mushrooms and all this kind of stuff, do you feel like it potentially is taking that same path as the stats medical marijuana, where like it had this stigma for a little bit, and now that there's more out there showing that it actually does work, and hey, it's just not for these stoners, you know, to go and have a good time. It's actually doing something for you, you know, like is that like,
well, so what you mentioned there's a bunch of stuff that you mentioned there that I'll try to unpack. That's really important, right? Like cannabis is like dirty, and mushrooms are like dirty for the, like, it's dirty hippie crowd, you know, and obviously like the stigma is there, etc. You know, a bunch of burners going to Burning Man. But like, I think what's really important and what is a little bit different than the medical marijuana space is that we're able to, as an industry, as a psychedelic industry, validate what we do through the FDA. And that's why, like, I always say, like, I'm Switzerland, right? Like, I've introduced decriminalized nature initiatives, Initiative 81, in Washington, D.C. I've done congressional briefings, and I'm passionate about that because policy influences how we think, how we feel. And with Initiative 81, like, I did it with a mom, Melissa Lavasani of the Psychedelic Medicine Coalition, who I'm a board member, and we've done the congressional briefings together, who cured herself of postpartum depression, and has worked in government for 25 years. And so, but these measures are able to get through because this is being validated through the FDA. So we could take that science and show, the board in Washington, D.C., and they can read it, then they can hear from doctors. Yes, they'll hear from an athlete, they'll hear from vets, they'll hear from a mom, but it's the science that everybody kind of follows, right? So I always say that we have to, and people are going to access it differently. You're going to access it through maybe the medical system, right? I might access it through the recreational system just because, I want to try to use it for my sleep or just have fun or like do some yard work, get high and go charge. And so, and then there's also, there's nothing wrong, from people like my parents wanting to go to a doctor to getting a script. Like, that's just what they do. That's what they're used to. Right. And then there's also like programs that are full spectrum for mushrooms, like Measure 109 in Oregon, Prop 122 in Colorado, where it creates this legal framework, just like medical marijuana or the marijuana industry, where you have manufacturers of the mushroom, you have testers of the mushroom, you have service centers, and then you also have facilitators. In this case, you need a facilitator because to responsibly do mushrooms, high doses, you definitely want to be sitting with somebody that can guide you through what could be a challenging experience, right? So all of those things I support in order to try to get people to access this as much as they can, because it's just such a better alternative than what we have right now. And what we have right now is completely inadequate, and it's a system that is really, it feels like it's just preying on people. And hopefully we can change that. The only way we do that is through this like rigorous scientific process, that costs a ton of money, but hey man, people are really interested in it. Some people do it for the dollar signs, others do it, for different reasons, but I feel like we need all those people, in order for this to work. And congrats to you, man. Like, I love hearing stories like that. Number one, it's probably a lot less inexpensive than the other route,
Yeah.
And number two, now you're a testament to others that are suffering with Crohn's, right? That you should tell your story a lot and show people. That's it, like, that's one of the things that I live by is to keep what I have. I have to, freely give it away, meaning I have to talk about it, as much as I can, because there's a lot of people suffering out there and they're getting led down the wrong path, and maybe you can wake some people up.
Yeah. I mean, with the way things get tossed around online, like nowadays, like getting information out there is just the number one thing. And that's just what you got to do.
Got the encyclopedia, man. Like, this thing can really hurt you, but this thing could really help you if you know how to control it. If you don't let it control you, just, you just got to watch it. You got to put some, man, this life's all about discipline, and listen, like, dude, I am so bad at fucking up. I fuck up daily, weekly, monthly. I still have drinks. I still smoke weed. I take mushrooms recreationally. It's not always therapeutically, but I do everything that I do like with intention. And the things that the exercise helps me to make better decisions. Sometimes the psychedelics help me to have 4 drinks instead of 10, and so, like, I just have all of these layers that I've put into my life that just help me live a more present, happy life, and I want that for other people, because it for whatever reason, these phones make us feel like the world's burning down every day. And it's just not the case. You know, you can create your own world. You can create your own world with your family, with your friends. You don't have to watch the news. You don't have to take in all of this fear that they want us to.
100%.
Yeah.
So all right, yeah, let's wrap us up here.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. Are you guys excited for Bedard?
Oh yeah, bud.
Yeah.
Dude, that fucking move that he made the other night was pretty fucking sick.
Man.
The first preseason game too, where he, oh my god.
Yeah, that was a nice sauce back there. Yeah, he's the real deal, huh?
I can't wait. I'm really I wasn't expecting that question at all.
No, dude, I was like, I mean, I was pretty blown away at that.
Yeah. Well, you know, since we're talking about it, I was gonna ask too, because like, what are your thoughts on this upcoming season? Like, any predictions or anything?
No, fuck no. I just don't have the time, man. I wish I did. I really do. I wish I did. No, I'm just so focused on I've just got these ventures that are just taking up a lot of my time, but I have the energy. I have, the focus right now. And so, I just don't really, other than like, so Saturday, I just told my boy, we're going to go to the Panthers game. My parents are in town and stuff. So, after 5:00 weekends, all about the family. But yeah, no, I just thought it was pretty cool just following. And obviously the algorithm knows a lot of my followers are in Chicago and stuff. But yeah, I found it pretty interesting, and I was laughing because it's like somebody said that he's never gone to McDonald's. I'm like, what?
Right. Talk about discipline. Are you kidding me?
But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. You never had like a Big Mac. You've never gotten drunk with the boys and just smashed fucking 20 nuggets and
from what I've heard,
but I guess it's a different time. It's a different time.
He is such a hockey nerd. Like, they were talking to Tyler Johnson after this day 2 of training camp, and he's like, oh, he's a great kid, talking to him and all that. But it's like the second, like, you're talking about anything else, it's like, what? Talk about hockey, it's like a little kid on Christmas, he lights up, he starts talking. It's like, I literally think his life is hockey 24/7.
Just a machine.
Yeah,
it's pretty fucking. I mean, yeah. Did you see his legs in the combines there? Jesus Christ,
he's gonna end up looking like Marty St. Louis by the end of his career.
Yeah, dude. I played with Marty and with the Rangers there when we made that run. Jesus Christ, Quadzillas. They were fucking huge. All
right. Last question that I got with hockey. You've played with so many ridiculous names throughout your career. Do you have like a favorite line mate or a favorite teammate or one player that you're like, oh shit, I played with that guy?
Yeah, I mean, I fucking started the year on Hossa and Kane's line in LA. I got hurt. And then that's when Saad that was in 2013. But yeah, that was pretty funny, playing with those guys. When I got back, like I got out there with them. Kane was always just, you sit back on the bench even during the game. I was always pretty enamored by guys that can let the game come to them, slow it down. Mike Richards, Jeff Carter, Hartnell in Philly, like Kimmo Timonen. Just like
your list is unreal.
Yeah, Drew. I mean, there are a lot of guys that I really enjoyed my time in Philly and my time in Chicago. Sharpie Seabrook was amazing. Duncan Keith was just a fucking animal. I mean, you could talk about these guys and their habits and what you learned from them and gleaned from how they operated. Hossa, especially, just like a true pro. So Crawford was fucking awesome. Ray Emery, a lot of guys, a lot of good memories, that really, you take a ton of lessons, man. You take a ton of lessons into the real world. because that's not the real world. So if guys ever decide to leave hockey and not go into scouting and do that whole coaching thing and that whole thing again for the rest of their lives and identify as that person who did that sport, you could take a lot of lessons, man, that you learn from these guys, and attention to detail, and just be a savage in business, and really apply yourself to do good things and then create different teams. That's the cool thing about the teams that I'm on right now with the business that we're doing with Healing Realty Trust. It's like we're just gearing up for a raise, and I was talking to my partner Cody Chandra, and and Joe, and I was like, yeah, I've been like hearing I a lot. It's like we need to use we. We need to like highlight the team, and you watch NBA interviews, it's always you watch hockey videos, it's like, oh, you had a great game. Oh, that's because my teammates showed up and fucking played really hard and put me in the right positions, and you're always kind of passing the buck. So yeah, I've taken a lot of lessons, and trying to continue to grow, and hopefully one day I can more meaningfully do more in the hockey community with guys that want to transition out. It's always been a big goal of mine.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really seems like you're in a great place to like help out guys, like whether it's with that or just with the whole concussion issue too. Like you have that knowledge, you have that in your back pocket where they can always just like reach out to you, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, man. There's a pro skate that I just started, first time in 4 years, 2 weeks ago, and first thing everyone's like, like don't know how to kind of act, and second skate, it's like boom, questions about, hey man, I stopped because of concussions. You look like you're doing fucking great. Like, how do I get started? I'm like, no problem, man. Love to help you. So just get guys started. And then the good thing about this medicine and this medicine work, when you do medicine work, it's all about you. Like you have to do the work. It's not really the medicine, and it's, it's good to work with former athletes and vets and stuff, because they just know how to fucking work, man. They know how to get down,
Awesome. So okay, tell everybody where they can like follow you and learn more about your stuff and all that.
Cool. Yeah. So Daniel Carcillo 13 on Instagram, Carbon Boom 13 on Twitter, LinkedIn, Daniel Carcillo. Check out what we're doing with Healing Realty Trust, which is we're building the infrastructure for these FDA approved medicines. So for this experiential medicine, that infrastructure doesn't exist. You go to a doctor, you go to Walgreens, you take it home. You're going to go into a clinic. People can check out, we have a supplement business called My Crew Doses. So just harnessing the power of mushrooms and the things that help me, focusing mostly right now on sleep and rest, which is imperative for recovering from concussion and just everyday life. And I support a lot of veteran organizations. So this is Heroic Hearts Project and Jesse Gould. They connect veterans to psychedelic therapies, mainly ayahuasca. And this is No Fallen Heroes and Matthew Wiz Buckley. And he does a lot of the same things. So just connecting, he's a former Navy pilot, and he connects veterans to ibogaine therapy, mostly in Costa Rica. And then I'm training right now for a 211-mile race. Jesus. We are parachuting in for a mile, swimming 10 miles, and then running 200. I might not have any hips or knees after that, but I'm going to do my best, and that's with Jonathan Wilson, Envy Mind Health, and we're just trying to raise awareness in and around Veterans Day for traumatic brain injury, and suicide prevention. So that's those are three of the main organizations that I'm kind of working with right now, and what I'm up to.
Awesome.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, I look forward to like just following along, just because you post good stuff, and just really excited to see where you go from here too, because like what you've done so far is just awesome.
Cool, buddy. No, I appreciate it, man. And happy to happy to have you as a follower, and you guys reach out, anything I can do to help your journey, just let me know.
Awesome. Really appreciate it, Daniel.
Cool. All right, boys. Have a
All
good
right,
one.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the WCB podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast. To connect with Jerem and Tanner, check out the boys at WCB Podcast on all social media. We'll see you next time.